bringing the next experimental ingredient into beer. We've got wild yeast, we've got novel yeast that nobody's ever used before in the industry. This is a yeast that makes lactic acid as well as ethanol, so you can get a sour beer and an alcoholic beer all in one go.
The good thing as well is this simplifies things down into a straight line, single process, and it at a certain point makes the product more consistent and extremely quick to market as a result.
Saucy Brew is the only brewery in the world that's gone commercial scale with a yeast-only sour.
So I've been making beer a long time, relatively, and I think experimentation is the only thing that really drives the progress of beer. For me, using a new yeast and letting the yeast speak in the wort is super cool, and this drifter beer is a yeast-only sour produced from a completely new strain, not ale, not lager. We take the same steps for cleanliness, we take the same steps in wort production and in fermentation, but the yeast itself is inherently different.
Concerning the research that shows this is actually yeast, a yeast process and not bacterial contamination, we've got DNA sequencing, we've got enzymatic assays, we've got microscopy, GCMS, NMR spectroscopy. We've got all of modern science behind us that says this is only yeast.
What's interesting about this concept of truly localized yeast is that the rest of the world has written its brewing history, and here in the United States we are continuing to write our history, and part of that in the future is going to be wild indigenous yeast.
It's one thing to say you're going to make new beer, it's another thing to actually do it. So we have the brilliant minds at Wild Pitch Yeast, Matt, Rob, and their colleagues, but we have the technology to track, produce, and test these yeasts on a production scale, which no one else is really doing. And so now we put this drifter into production, and we have found a lactic acid yeast. It doesn't exist. There's thousands more that could exist. Let's find them, let's try them, let's taste them.